name is Blase. I am a fifth and final year PhD student at Carnegie Mellon University in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania in the US. And I do research on a lot of aspects of usable security and privacy. That is, how can we design systems that have good security and privacy properties and are also usable? That is, they make sense to the average person. So my work with the Data Transparency Lab is focusing on helping users understand their privacy online. So one thing that comes up pretty frequently in the world of privacy is the idea of tracking on the web for the purpose of online behavioral advertising. And there are a number of really cool privacy tools, but we think they don't go quite far enough in helping users really understand what's going on. And so we want to bring more transparency through the Data Transparency Lab to the average user. So people don't really understand, they understand that companies are tracking them, but they don't really understand what that means. What do these companies know about me? What have these companies perhaps concluded and inferred based on this data that they've collected? And we're trying to bring that to the average user. Right, so I think data transparency is important for the average person because in all walks of life, we don't ask people to make decisions without knowing the information. Like we don't say, what would you like for dinner without telling them what the possibilities are. We don't say, bring your car in for service without letting them know what's wrong with the car. And it's similar with data transparency. We're asking people to make privacy decisions, but really not telling them or helping them to understand in any meaningful way what's going on. And so my advisor, Lori Craner, and I are basically building tools to help users understand what's going on so they can make informed decisions. The tool we're working on that's been funded by the Data Transparency Lab works in online behavioral advertising. And basically, existing tools right now show you, at this exact moment, the following advertising company is tracking you. But what does that mean? Right? So we're providing a longitudinal view. For instance, this company is tracking you right now, and here are all of the other things they've tracked about you in the past to help you reason and think about what they've collected about you. And similarly, we're building this tool such that it'll tell you, our best guess is that this company, based on everything they've collected about you, for instance, thinks you like ice hockey and thinks you like vegetarian restaurants, and that's why you're getting the kinds of advertisements you're getting, rather than just this very abstract information. I think this Data Transparency Conference 2015 has been a really good mix of people from academia, people from industry, and it's really pushing the conversation forward in the sense that we're all here to discuss ideas, to discuss grand visions. There's not, in the way that some academic conferences have, really a pressure like, what have you done in the last few months? What results do you have? Here we're free to talk about our visions and where we'd like to see the world 5 years from now, 10 years from now, and how we're going to get there. So I think there's one of the main challenges, and I think it has two parts, is in one part helping users to understand the data that we make transparent to them. This user communication is the first part. The second part is us as a community figuring out, well, what is this data that we're making transparent? So right now, a lot of practices relating to privacy, relating to data, are very opaque. We believe there's databases about the average user here, databases about the user here. Well, we don't know what's in the database. We really can't reason about that. And so it's, in addition to making it transparent to users, it's figuring out what's going on behind the scenes and then bringing that up to the surface. Right, so I see the role of the Data Transparency Lab really galvanizing and pushing forward a group of researchers to think big, to think about what do we want data transparency to be in the coming years, and I guess just really helping us to think and think big. 10 years from now, data is what I would call a double-edged sword. It brings us a lot of great, useful, valuable things, but it also brings with it many risks. And so 10 years from now, I see data being used for all kinds of things that perhaps right now we haven't even thought of yet, and in that way making our lives better. But I also imagine through the help of the Data Transparency Lab and the kinds of people who are in this room or will be in the room at future data transparency conferences, basically a much more thoughtful way of helping people reason about all of this data and what it all means to them. So it's essentially more data, but more thoughtfully protected data and more of a rationale behind everything that's going on.